The next one we have is the genetic fallacy. Okay? Genetic fallacy. Now, the genetic fallacy is a fallacy of irrelevance in which arguments or information are dismissed or validated based solely on their source of origin rather than their content. In other words, a claim is ignored or given credibility based on its source rather than the claim itself. So the genetic fallacy, and I'm sorry this is a little small right there in the middle of the slide. They think something is good because it came from certain sources. They think something is bad because it came from certain sources. And then they will give you bad branding, okay? It's good because it came from certain sources. That's not true. It's bad because it came from certain sources. That's not true. And they will try to attach bad branding to the sources that disagree with them or that produce disfavorable information. Say, Kevin, whatever do you mean? Okay. When we start talking about Calvinism having its origins in Manichaean Gnosticism, they cannot hear that. And they misrepresent, they try, well, Manichaean Gnosticism has all these beliefs. We're not saying you have all the beliefs, you see? We're not saying it's a one-for-one match. What we're saying is that all the distinctives of Calvinism, what are distinctives, Kevin? Those are the things that you believe that Christians don't believe, okay? Christianity exists just fine. The meme complex of Christianity exists just fine with no Calvinism in it at all, okay? There's never a need to add Calvinism to Christianity. There is Christianity that operates just fine without Calvinism. Matter of fact, when you study memetics, you find out that Christianity and Calvinism have different central memes of their meme complex. The central meme of Christianity is the death, burial, and resurrection of Jesus Christ on the authority of Scripture. That's the central meme of the meme complex of Christianity. The central meme of Calvinism, and we have charts for this, and we show them in different videos than this one. The central meme of Calvinism is total depravity. All of Calvinism cascades from total depravity. Total depravity is a Manichaean Gnostic concept. Okay? Manichaean Gnostics also had a version of election that Calvinism borrows from, and they also had determinism, which Calvinism borrows from. Okay? So for Calvinistic distinctives, for at least those three items, I'm not saying they're copying all of Manichaean Gnosticism. What I'm saying is that they're borrowing those issues, and they have their own central meme of the meme complex. And the reason it's confusing, see, Calvinism could be its own religion. The reason it's confusing is because it's operating as a parasitic entity inside the host body of Christianity. That's why it's confusing. Oh, we're Christians too. Actually, no, you're a parasite inside the host body of Christianity. Oh, our central meme is death, burial, and resurrection of Christ on the authority of Scripture. No, it's not. Because you don't need Calvinism for that to be your central meme complex. Calvinism has its own starting point, which is total depravity. Some people say, oh, the starting point is sovereignty. No. That's the cover story. They want to elevate God in how they present things so they can virtue signal to you. That's post hoc rationalized, though. That's not how the system was built. That's not how it was cascaded. And that's not how it was prematurely optimized to go to market too early. By the way, that premature optimization is why Calvinist writers have to write so much. Calvinists will say, oh, our theologians have written so much, because you have so many contradictions that you have to work out. That's why. Okay? If you actually believe the Bible would be enough. You wouldn't have to write anything. Okay? So what you have is technical debt caused by premature optimization, where a system was prematurely optimized and sent to market before all the kinks were discovered. And all the writing that Calvinists have to do is trying to cover up and work out all the kinks, when they should just go back to the drawing board. The problem is when Augustine was getting attacked by the idea fairy to come up with this nonsense, there wasn't an adult in the room to slap him on the back of the hand and say, no, that's not right. Okay, we're no adults in the room. And a rivalrous dynamic made it all even worse. If you say Calvinism comes from Manichaean Gnosticism, that's historically true. That's historically and structurally true. But they will say, oh, no, you just got that from Ken Wilson. Well, first of all, I didn't. I am on record. I have videos from before Ken Wilson was known about, from before his stuff was published, where we are tracing Calvinism back to Manichaean Gnosticism. Okay? My Calvinist professors had me read this book by Alistair McGrath. He traces Calvinism back to Augustine's Manichaean Gnosticism. We have here the Gospel of the Prophet Manny. I've got a green screen going so you can't really see. It's a green book. We have Augustine, Manichaeism and the Good. We have Augustine's Manichaean Dilemma. I also have Ken Wilson's books. One of them is digital, and I also have his doctoral dissertation, and I thought I had it right here, but it's, yeah, probably up there under a different, under my projector, it looks like right now. I think the projector fell over on top of it, but that's fine. But they'll just do the genetic fallacy. Oh, you got that from Ken Wilson. Well, we didn't, but even if we did, that doesn't address what he's actually saying. That's actually a scholarly work, and there's lots of other scholars who've drawn the connection too. It is historically accurate that Calvinism stems from Manichaean Gnosticism, borrowed from Manichaean Gnosticism when Augustine was in a rivalrous dynamic against Pelagius. And so they're both wrong. Pelagius and Augustine are wrong, but the rivalrous dynamic causes people to fail to see that, and the in-grouping and out-grouping and all that kind of stuff. So what they will do is and then if you are opposing Calvinism, they will say, oh, you're just following Kevin Thompson, or you're just following Leighton Flowers. They'll just throw out a name, like throwing out the name makes what they say false. And that is not true. So what they'll try to do is try to give bad branding. So right now, with with all the internet Calvinists, if you say Calvinism was derived with syncretism from Manichaean Gnosticism, which is historical, it's a historical fact, they will just huff and puff and roll their eyes. Ugh, can't believe you're falling for that. That doesn't address the issue. Okay? Or if you mention Ken Wilson's name, same thing. Ugh, can't believe you mentioned Ken Wilson like he's a serious scholar or something. That's the genetic fallacy. It's wrong because it came from him. Now, so they try to give every source of information where the truth comes from, they try to give it bad branding and a bad rap, and there's going to be lots of things floating around about why it's wrong or bad, all that kind of thing. So the top 3 bad things about Ken Wilson, that'll be the first thing, like preloaded and pre-charged into any Calvinist's mind, to where when his information comes up or when his name comes up, they're going to fire all those discrediting things. The genetic fallacy. It's wrong because the information came from Ken Wilson. He's just the mailman. He's just delivering information. I actually disagree with his approach on a few things, but his scholarship is really good, and I think you should read it. Now, at the same time, the genetic fallacy can go the other way. The genetic fallacy is a logical error in which a claim or argument is accepted or rejected. See, they can accept something based on, accepted or rejected, based solely on its origin or source rather than its actual merit or substance. I think Aristotle's famous for saying a mature person can learn how to assess an argument based on the argument's merits rather than on who said it or where it came from. And that's where you need to be. That's what a Calvinist absolutely cannot do. Okay? It's an attempt to invalidate or validate the truth of a statement by tracing it to its source or origin. Just because something comes from a particular source does not inherently make it true or false. So, origin of ideas. Dismissing a person's argument on climate change because they aren't a climate scientist. Okay? That doesn't necessarily make their arguments wrong. Are you a climate scientist? Appealing to consensus. So a lot of these logical fallacies, they're employed by Calvinists in tandem with multiple other logical fallacies. Book authenticity, rejecting the insights of a self-help book solely because it was written by a celebrity with no formal psychology training. These are just examples of the genetic fallacy. So now, what do? Calvinists, while they're saying I had the book down here the whole time. I just forgot. Yeah, there's Ken Wilson's doctoral thesis, Augustine's conversion from traditional free choice to non-free free will. It's a great title. And now that's real small print there. This is doctoral thesis, and this book is a lot more expensive. I guess the layperson's version of the book is cheaper and available digitally, and I think it's called The Foundations of Augustinian Calvinism. So yeah, that's a pretty accessible book, and I highly recommend it. So at the same time, while they are denigrating your argument just because it could be associated with somebody's name, okay, they will quote a bunch of fools. You'll see it all the time. There's this one guy, his name starts with a W, and he'll post a quote up there from like Augustus Toplady or Steve Lawson, not a Bible verse, and it'll say, "Take that, non-Calvinists." I'm like, take what? Like that means something. And they'll just post all these quotes that just people said things, and because R.C. Sproul said it, that makes it authoritative to them, because they see R.C. Sproul as an authority. And they're still stage 3, black and white, false in part, false in whole. They swallow the whole kit and caboodle, that kind of thing. There's no discernment, there's no chew up the meat, spit out the bones, nothing like that going on. And then I have a whole nother slide. And you see, it's funny because Calvinists, they call non-Calvinists man worshippers, and you think you save yourselves, but they're always quoting from men. They have no Bible. There are no Bible verses that say Calvinistic doctrines. They will say they teach Calvinism. There are no Bible verses ever in the whole Bible, all 31,102 verses. None of them say Calvinistic doctrine. So in order to say Calvinistic doctrine, you have to quote somebody outside Scripture. And so if you see them on the internet, they're always posting these quotations from men while calling you a man worshiper. There's even a guy, his name is Juan, and you can look. What's he quoting? R.C. Sproul, R.C. Sproul, R.C. Sproul, 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 and Sproul. Oh, look, a different one. Clark. I don't think Clark wrote any books of the Bible either. Gordon Clark, A.W. Pink. Okay, Pink didn't write any books of the Bible. Sproul didn't write any books of the Bible. They're just quoting these people, and whenever they quote things like this, I'm like, you might as well, quote Mickey Mouse and Lord Farquaad and Peach Dragon. If you're not making any headway by quoting these clowns, okay?